From years of anxiety to warrior and mentor, Bradley Robinson created the Anxiety Project to help you end your anxiety naturally. Let's mold the new you and let's end anxiety together.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Anxiety Project podcast. Welcome to episode 318. Thanks for joining me, Brad Robinson, here, talking about health anxiety. Once again, really important topic. There's a lot of people out there who are obsessing and ruminating over their health, and they don't know what's going on. They don't even know it is health anxiety. All they know is that there is this internal problem that they can't seem to control, and they desperately want to control it and solve the problem. And it really ends up being a loop in the end. And it turns out to be another symptom and another illness, and then it rolls and rolls and rolls until it can consume your life. The reason why this podcast really came into fruition is because I was suffering from health anxiety back in the 2010s, and it was a severe anxiety disorder. And when you examine, and I will now being a coach, because I was a student of someone who did suffer from health anxiety and overcame it, I learned that you have to ask yourself the right questions in order to unpack the beliefs around, well, what's really going on and what really is the cause of your health anxiety. Now, I highly recommend that you share this podcast with someone that you know who is dealing with health anxiety, because it is no joke. It is something that can really take over someone's life, and it can keep them stuck. And, well, it can be very concerning because they fall into a depression, not seeing any way out of the predicament. So the person with health anxiety, their body goes from being automated and unconscious of its, internal processes and functions to being attentive, what's the word here? To being aware of, some sort of thing that you would know not really be, it's like being aware of your digestive system, right? It's like, why would you spend any amount of time thinking about that unless there's a problem, right? And so so someone with health anxiety, they're feeling something or they're perceiving something on their body to be, well, of something of concern, and this becomes the center of their life. It's like the planets revolving around the sun, right? All of their time and energy is revolving around that thing. And, well, something happened, something triggered, right? Emphasis on triggered this hyper awareness over your state of health. What's common and what's usual with health anxiety sufferers is that they're already in an anxious frame of mind because maybe they're running on poor sleep, there's a job change, their dietary choices, there's big stressors present in their life, and their glass is full. Their glass is full. They're already on edge. They're highly sensitive. And what happens? You watch something on TV that's related to something traumatizing, like, some health issue, especially real life stories. Like you're watching like Dr. Phil, for example, and, you come across this really kind of horrific and traumatizing story someone else went through, and you go, oh my God, that could happen to me. It could trigger your health anxiety. And so it bothers you, it sticks around, it makes you even more hyper alert. And say it's not a TV show or someone commenting on something health related, but you actually get ill in some way, or your family member gets ill. And this has happened to clients of mine where when a family member would get ill, and it triggers a really terrible momentum of health anxiety. And I asked my client, you know, I helped him. I asked him by saying, well, you've been suffering for how many years now? And he would track it back to a moment with his partner getting something that turned out to be nothing, but it kind of shocked him dealing with that news, because he told me that what if he, it becomes a single parent? What if, I lose her? What if I couldn't bear to live without this person? And then I asked him some more questions that tracked his health anxiety back to when he was 10, 11 years old, when he would mention how his mom and dad were overly obsessive. So if he caught a cold, for example, his parents would go, "We need to take you to the doctors today. There's no time to wait." And there would be this frantic response to whatever he was dealing with, a cold, or he got hurt, whatever. That's their response. So they treated any sort of novelty around health as being overly concerning, and he adopted that because it really affected him. And then in his life, growing up in his 20s, he then would call the doctor up over any concern, over a certain feeling, sensation. And so as he was tracking all of this, I could see in his eyes, they were just lighting up. Of like, yeah, I could see this pattern playing out in my life, how this story became ingrained within himself, became the story of his life, this internal narrative. And it does play out that way. It does. It really does play out that way. And so our minds run with the story of this ultimate dragon. And there's no rational questioning or trust in any faith, but there's this self-centered narrative of the worst case scenario playing out that needs to be solved. This frantic, obsessive nature of the anxiety sufferer, needing answers right away. And the thing is, we want to control everything. We really do. We want to control everything. And if it's outside of our control, like most things are, what can we do about it? But do we do what the hippies suggest and live in the moment, whatever that means? Or do we develop our confidence around areas that are not yet mastered, that can get out of control, and we learn to deal with what gets out of control? So this client who's grown up around people who can't deal with the novelty, he adopts that novelty, and now he has this internal narrative playing out of when things get out of control and things happen, that he witnesses things happen to his fellow classmates in school. So some of the classmates would faint in front of him, and then this always stuck with him, because the fact is that they lost control, and you can't really get help. It's this thing where you witness somebody lose control, and it shocks the person who's so desperately trying to control everything. It's like, it shocks you, because they're like, how does one control something like that? It's too far out of my domain of understanding. And the thing about like the Buddhist story or the biblical stories is that, well, you have to figure out how to confront the areas of your life that you can't control, that are causing you the most fear. And that's the thing, is that you confront. So when he witnessed his classmates faint, he got out of there. He ran away. And now, later in his life, being an adult now, he runs out of the scenarios that trigger that feeling of fainting, right? So being out in a public place, at a certain public place, I don't want to give too much away because it's our sessions are private, but he would run from the specific place that he witnessed his friend or classmates fainting from. And so you can obviously see a connection here. And so the question is, how do you confront this and how do you let it go? Like I previously mentioned, you have to develop your confidence around areas that are not yet mastered. So you have to build inner trust. Could you not treat your body like a temple and tend to better sleep, diet, and overall lifestyle? Yes, that's a factor. But also, you're going to have to confront the situations that make you feel faint or make you feel like you're going to lose control and embarrass yourself in front of other people. And you have to learn to manage that and stay in the environment. If your tendency is to run out of the environment, you have to learn to stay in those environments and ride the wave. Now, what I'm going to get into is systematic desensitization, which means, well, you could do the flooding technique and just show up and just ride the wave of panic and try and master that and do that about a dozen times before your amygdala makes the association that you're not going to faint, you're not going to lose control, you're not going to die in this environment. And so it starts to relax over time because you constantly expose yourself to the environment and your amygdala gets bored of it the more you show up, and that nothing happens, nothing biblical happens to you. But the systematic desensitization is when you slowly, gradually subject yourself to what you fear the most. So you're afraid of that certain environment. So you would look at pictures of it on Google until your amygdala was bored of it. You start to watch videos on YouTube of people in that environment. You watch people and then start to imagine yourself in that environment until your amygdala gets bored of it. And then you sit and close your eyes and imagine yourself walking in that environment and, surviving, and, you're just hanging out there. And you're breathing, you're practicing breathing as you're imagining it. So you're learning to relax. You're building new associations between that environment and relaxing, and how you communicate to yourself. And that's another important thing. How are you talking to yourself when you're there? For me, when I'm in those environments, I'm talking to myself like, this is a challenge. This is an opportunity to grow, because I know that when I'm feeling anxious in this place, it's an opportunity for me to be more than I am, right? It's a opportunity to build new circuitry within the brain. So you do that with the client, and then you build up and you take them to the environment that they're afraid of, and you get them to sit in the parking lot of that place and then do the exercise maybe in their car. They're imagining walking in and everything going okay, and they're breathing and they're smiling, and you get them to pay attention to the environment until they're bored of it. And then gradually you work your way up until they're they're in the door and they're standing there in the doorway of the place until they're bored. And you do this as much as you do this at their own pace, right? Because maybe you take them to that place one day and then you have to wait a week, get them to rest, sleep it off, and then you bring them back, and then you move yourself into the environment slowly and slowly until they're there and they're watching, and it don't expect it to be all rainbows and unicorns at this point, because it's always tough to be there and to calm down when your anxiety response is setting off this alarm of danger. Do what you've always done and leave. No, relax. This is an opportunity to grow. Calm down. If I faint, I faint. So be it. I'm done being scared of this. And eventually, do this enough, you will learn to master and become bored of that environment, and you'll go into these environments eventually, and they will be nothing to you. You wouldn't give them a second thought. And this is what happens. And you do this to one environment, it bleeds out to all these other environments. So you, on the subway, you conquer that fear, and then you realize that you're more confident in taxi cabs, in airplanes, in movie theaters, in the mall. You're going to surprise yourself, because the bravery generalizes. Let me repeat that. The bravery generalizes. So something happened in your past. It triggered concern over your health. And my client, for example, his parents didn't help him, right? They set him up to be highly sensitive. Okay. He's in school, he witnesses somebody losing control, fainting, it affects him. Now he's hyper aware of fainting and the feelings associated. He is obsessed over the feelings of not being in control. Walking down the street, the anxiety kicks in. He says to me, I'm not feeling well in those situations, so I run away. Now, like we just said, perfect time to challenge, right? When you get that feeling, I'm going to run away. I feel like I'm in the heart of the dragon's lair. Perfect. Let's work with that. Let's build on your awareness and confidence around that scenario where you feel that you're weak. Things outside your control won't seem so predatory if your confidence and faith is mounted upon stone. Why should we already trust our minds that what it believes is, well, the truth? Why should we trust it? That very mind tells you to pull out your phone, to watch pornography, to eat cake, to stay inside, it's warm, to run away from that environment because it's scary. We listen to it because we've experienced things that we just don't like, or we experience things that we do much like indeed, and triggers your dopaminergic system when we fall prey to simple temptations. It's like this 2-year-old mind telling you to run away and consume, run away and consume. And then we become miserable, right? Because we fall prey to that overly chatty 2-year-old mind. Oh yeah, I want to have that cake. I want to watch that pornography. I want to run away because this environment seems scary and I'm going to faint. The health anxiety sufferer needs to change their lifestyle. Okay? Action comes first, then beliefs about whether or not this works follows. Okay? So what that means is you build on your action first by showing up and doing the work, even though your mind tells you not to do it. And well, that feeling of, is this working? Yeah, that comes along with that, because you're going to doubt yourself. And I don't know if this is working. I'm going to go back to what I used to do. Well, what you used to do kept you in suffering. So your best bet is to go into the unknown. I want to read you some passages from Carol Dweck's book, Mindset. This is a great book. I highly recommend it. There's a question here, and she answers it. The question is, are mindsets a permanent part of your makeup, or can you change them? And she says mindsets are an important part of your personality, but you can change them. Just by knowing about the two mindsets, you can start thinking and reacting in new ways. People tell me they start to catch themselves when they're in throes of the fixed mindset, passing up a chance for learning, feeling labeled by a failure, or getting discouraged when something requires a lot of effort. And then they switch themselves into the growth mindset, making sure they take the challenge, learn from the failure, or continue their effort. When my graduate students and I first discovered the mindsets, they would catch me in the fixed mindset, smile kindly, and let me know of it. It's also important to realize that even if people have a fixed mindset, they're not always in that mindset. In fact, in many of our studies, we put people in a growth mindset. We tell them that an ability can be learned and that the task will give them a chance to do that. Or we have them read a scientific article that teaches them the growth mindset. The article describes people who did not have natural ability but who developed exceptional skills. These experiences make our research participants into growth-minded thinkers, or at least for the moment, and they act like growth-minded thinkers too. Later, there's a chapter all about change. And yeah, I'll stop it right there because that's the end of that. And then I have another passage here I wanted to talk to you about and read you about the growth mindset. People are all born with a love of learning, but the fixed mindset can undo it. Think of a time you were enjoying something, doing a crossword puzzle, playing a sport, learning a new dance. Then it became hard and you wanted out. Maybe you suddenly felt tired, dizzy, bored, or hungry. Next time this happens, don't fool yourself. It's the fixed mindset. Put yourself in a growth mindset. Picture your brain forming new connections as you meet the challenge and learn. Keep on going. It's tempting to create a world in which we're perfect. We can choose partners, make friends, hire people who make us feel faultless. But think about it. Do you want to never grow? Next time you're tempted to surround yourself with worshipers, go to church. And the rest of your life, seek constructive criticism. Is there something in your past that you think measured you? A test score, a dishonest or callous action, being fired from a job, being rejected? Focus on that thing. Feel all the emotions, then go with it. Now put it in a growth mindset perspective. Look honestly at the role in it, but understand that it doesn't define your intelligence or personality. Instead, ask, what did I or can I learn from this experience? How can I use it as a basis for growth? Carry that with you instead. That's beautiful. What did I or can I learn from this experience? How can I use it as a basis for growth? So, tracking the trigger, let's talk about this. So, you're contending with health anxiety. Let's unravel, let's open up the layers of this onion. And I want you to re-listen to this episode, by the way, because I want you to write down these questions here and I want you to answer them. I really do. The first question, what are you obsessing over? The next question is, when did this begin? When did this begin? During this moment, what did I believe? During this moment, what did I believe? So, for example, during this moment, I believed this is a serious illness. I believe that this thing is going to run rampant on my body and I won't have control over it. Right? And so the next question is, what is this reaction telling me? What is this reaction telling me? Could this be a reflection of my current lifestyle? Could this be a reflection of my current lifestyle? And then the next question is, within the last few months, have there been big stressors in my life? Have there been big stressors? The next question is, what could this health reaction be telling me? What could this health reaction be telling me? What could this be telling me? What's the message here? What's the message? What should I take away from this? The one thing I know is that our life is interconnected like a spider's web. The more unconscious you are, the least you see this spider web. This grid of cause and effect is realized more to those who make choices to sacrifice behaviors for this faith in a better life. A man who is overweight doesn't know the magical world of dieting and having self-control, which leads to a clear mind, energy, and confidence. It's like the Harry Potter magical world and the muggles being the ones who are in their fixed mindset. That's what it is. But you can unravel your health anxiety. I want you to take this away and think about this. And I want you to ask yourself these really powerful questions. Where is this anxiety coming from? What happened in my life? Did something happen to me that was unsettling, that really bothered me? Because those things that really bothered you and really made you step back and go, I don't want that to happen, triggered a fear. Those are the things that need to be examined because they have a life force within you and then they control you. Just like how my client is running out this programming that's been running since he was 10. So the question is, how do we unravel the programming? Well, you have to first unpack the emotion, right? Because it's bothering you. It's always been bothering you for as long as you can remember. Unpack the emotion. Well, what's there? It's round chaos. Everything there is, I don't like to be in a situation where I don't feel in control. So expose yourself to situations where you don't feel in control. Expose yourself to situations where you feel like you're going to faint. Write down what happened to you when you were 11 or 12, right? Write down those experiences that caused you distress. What can you learn from this experience? Because I see people now who go through serious trauma when they're a child and they talk like it was a lesson, that they were blessed that this happened to them because now they can be stronger people. Now they can not pass down this anxiety to their children. Now they can, separate themselves and sever the ties between the things that they can't control and that fear surrounding that. Now they can be more and have peace in their life. So you're going to have to look into this and extract real serious learnings from this. You're going to have to expose yourself. Like I said earlier, action comes first before your beliefs around it can change. And then reframing that experience, seeing this experience not from the eyes of someone fearful, but from the eyes of someone who is wise. And that means, like I said, to extract lessons, teachings. This thing has something to tell you. You have something, be the student of this trauma. Be the student of this trauma. And that's where I'm going to leave you today on this podcast episode. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I hope this has helped you in some way. If you have any more questions about this, please, you can send me any question you want. If you go to unpluganxiety.com and under contact, you can reach me there. Also, leave a comment on the YouTube channel. Have you gone through something like this? And if you've answered the questions, I want to hear your responses. Like, how did that turn out for you? What did you learn from the experience? And I want to hear kind of the revelations you've experienced. Maybe you've tracked something into your childhood that you've never realized before that is around your health anxiety. Maybe there's something there when you were in elementary school. Something happened that you've repressed and you've forgotten about, because when we grow forward in our lives, when we move forward, we don't realize how much this imprinting does to us, how we play out the story and not realize it, how much we're a slave to the trauma. It is really interesting. We can free ourselves from that. And I am one to tell you, because I've done the work myself. Rise above anxiety. I'll see you next time. My anxiety recovery program is available over at unpluganxiety.com. Included is the Releasing Trauma exercise. This is where you can walk through and release past trauma using an NLP-based audio recording by myself. That's at unpluganxiety.com. Go there to learn more.